good afternoon and good evening to our global Nimble community. My name is John Ferrara, and today's a special day. I know that I say that often, but I love to connect with dear friends of mine who inspire and educate me to bring them to our community to inspire and educate you, because I really believe that if you teach people to fish, that they'll figure out you sell fishing poles. And I don't know of a better fisherman than Mark Hunter. Mark, good morning.
Hey, thank you. Wow, that's quite an introduction. I'm going to take you on the road with me. I
Well,
guess
I'm
you are
not
on the
done
road.
yet. I'm not
Oh,
done.
okay. Keep going. Keep going.
So Mark, they call him the sales hunter. He's been helping companies and salespeople worldwide find and retain better prospects for some time. I'm not going to say how long. He's one of the top 50 influential sales and marketing leaders, but more importantly, he's an author. And he takes his ideas on the road in speaking engagements. But if you want his information, he's got books, and his one of his latest books, High Profit Prospecting, is really the subject of this webinar. And with that said, Mark, take it away and rock our world.
Hey, thank you, John. And hey, over the next 50 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you kind of a variety of ideas. We've got kind of an agenda. This is the reason you signed up for. I'm going to talk about how to get better leads. And I'm going to come back to those questions. It does sound like I may have to help a few of you with cleaning your bathroom. But hey, we'll save that for the after show. How's
Mark,
that
can
sound?
I interject one thing?
Sure
I'm
can.
so sorry. There's a question area in the Go to Webinar Control Panel. Please ask
Yes.
questions. We're going to curate those and answer as many as we can at the end.
Terrific, terrific. That sounds excellent. Okay, I got the question thing open anyway. Hey, anyway, back to this agenda. We got Q&A at the end, and we got kind of a special offer for you as we get down towards the end. You know, I've had the chance to travel the world. In fact, today I'm calling in from a lobby of a hotel in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But you know what? That's what sales is all about, because sales is about connecting with customers and making things happen. You know, sales is not a job. It's not even a profession. I think it's a lifestyle. And with that, really, prospecting is a very key piece of it. Yeah, I wrote the book High Profit Prospecting. I'm going to be sharing with you some ideas from that. But hey, let's set the table first. Let's set the table about what prospecting is not. Well, you see, when we prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. This is absolutely key. One of the things I can't stand is when people try to use, can I use the salesman in plaid analogy? You know, that analogy from the 60s? The way we, no, those days are gone. We have to prospect with integrity. And I'll tell you what, when we prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. But here's another key thing. This era in which we live in, speed sells. Speed sells. All others lose. Now, what does this mean? This means we have to accelerate the timetable with which we do things. It used to be so typical that, you know, a lead would come in, or you'd inquire somebody and you don't want to follow up too quickly. No, we got to follow up faster. In fact, it's funny. High profit prospecting, I wrote the manuscript for it about 2 years ago now. In fact, if I had to rewrite, in fact, I'm in conversations with my publisher now, I would rewrite it and take out some of the timelines in there, because we really do have to sell fast, which means we've got to have information fast. But here's one of the challenges. When we get into, you know, this whole idea of speed sales, we think it's just having a singular process. No, it's not, because the era of having a single prospecting process is dead. We have to have different buckets, different methods, different methodologies that we're using depending on the prospect that we're going after. Now, let me kind of blow up another myth here, and this is this myth of the wide funnel. Oh, let's have the wide funnel. Let's put everybody in there. And this is where I get into a little bit of a challenge with marketing departments, because marketing departments sometimes can, oh, we're going to get all these leads. We're going to get all these leads. You know what happens there? What happens is I wind up with this pipeline that is on the left. That pipeline on the left is all about quantity. You know what that is? That's a sewer pipe. That is a flat out sewer pipe. We've got prospects in there that should not be in there. What you really want is you want the quality prospecting pipeline. That's the one on the right. That's really closer to a water tap. Now, here's what I really want to call out. Now, we have a lot of solopreneurs on this call today, and that's wonderful. But we have a lot of company folks, a lot of people carrying the bag for the company. And I'll tell you what, if you're one of those people, it's very much a tendency to keep a lot of prospects in the funnel. Why? Because when you keep a lot of prospects in the funnel, it keeps your boss happy. I remember when I used to work for the man, I used to keep a lot of prospects in my pipeline for one simple reason. It is what my boss looked at, but it's not about quantity. It really is about quality. Now, when we talk about quality, go back to that other slide I talked about in terms of, speed sells. So what are we doing with this? Well, it's really about being able to segmentize your process. Now, this comes back to this other piece that I talked about in terms of having multiple sales processes. I've got to have different methods, and I'm going to segmentize. I'm going to take, and it might be different industries that I'm reaching. It might be different outcomes that I'm reaching. In fact, I really want to key in on outcomes. And what I'm going to suggest for you to do when we get done here with this, I want you to take your customers that you currently have right now and make a list of all the outcomes that you've provided for them. Now, these aren't the features, these aren't the benefits, these are the outcomes. How did what you provided to them help them achieve X? That's what you're looking for. It's that X. What did they achieve, that X? And what you do is you make that list, and then you're going to come back and you're going to be able to kind of bucketize them together, which from that then you're going to be able to begin to segmentize. What is this going to do? What you want to do is you want to be going after prospects that are going to be really looking for a similar type of outcome that you helped a current customer with. And from them, then, you're going to be able to develop questions. I'll dig into that here in just a bit. But what does it all come down to? It really comes down to I want to be able to qualify fast. You see, I want to qualify fast to spend more time with fewer prospects. Now whoa, hold on. What did he say? Yeah, qualify fast to allow you to spend more time with fewer prospects. I want to make my leads earn the right to become prospect. I don't want everybody in there. I want them to earn the right. Now, does this mean I'm throwing people out? Yeah, I am throwing people out of my sales pipeline, whatever I want to call it. Now, I'm not throwing them out completely. I'm moving them to my marketing list. Okay, I'm still going to be in contact with them, but I have to keep in mind that my most valuable asset is my time. I would much rather, because we talked earlier that, one of the poll questions, telephone, very key, but that takes time. I don't have time to spend on the phone with every one of my leads. So what I want to do is I want to spend time on the phone with my best leads. So what does this really come down to? Well, if the wide funnel's done, it really is the narrow funnel. It really is all about the narrow funnel. Now, the narrow funnel is really about how do I have better questions that bring people through. Now, to set the tone for this, let me have you think back to this morning or maybe in the evening or whatever, but you undoubtedly have taken a shower, and there's one of your best sales tools is found in the shower. It's that bottle of shampoo. Look on that bottle of shampoo, and wow, it's going to have 2 words on that bottle of shampoo. Every bottle of shampoo has those 2 words. One is repeat, and preceding that is rinse. You see, what is this all about? Well, what this is I don't want to start what I can't finish. Now, wait, where are we going with all this? Well, here it is. I got to be able to have prospects that I can rinse and repeat with. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Now, what is rinse and repeat? If you think about the whole concept of rinse with a bottle of shampoo, you put shampoo in your hair and you wash it and you rinse it out and you put new shampoo in. This is one of the big mistakes that so many people make with prospecting is they send the same message out to the same person over and over and over again. No, just as the bottle of shampoo says rinse, you put new shampoo in your hair. Every message you send to your customers, every message you send to your prospects must convey different value. And then that second word is repeat. See, repeat, repeat, repeat. Whatever you think is the right number of times for you to be reaching out to a prospect. You might say, well, I'm going to reach out to them 5 times, and if they haven't responded to me, then I'm going to cut them off. Whatever you think is the right time, I want you to double it. I want you to double it. Now, you sit there and say, Mark, that's kind of a bold statement. Now, It is a bold statement, but at the same time, I can't sit there and say this is the blanket number, because I know people who have reached out to the same person 50, 60 times, and they've walked away with a huge deal. And I know other people who've reached out 10, 20. So again, it's going to vary by industry. It's going to vary by purchase cycle. It's going to be vary by the size of purchase, et cetera, et cetera. But here's what it comes down to. I'm going to take 30 leads I can focus on. Over 200 I can't manage. That's really what I want to get to. Now, is it 3,200 always? No, it's not always. For you, it might be 10. For somebody else, it might be 40. But what I want you to do is I want you to focus in tighter on the number of leads that you have to be able to spend more time with them. Because here's the whole thing. Your greatest asset is your time. Your greatest asset is not what you sell. Your greatest asset is not your customers. It's not your price point. It's not your territory. It's not your market. It's not anything. No, your greatest asset is your time. And you have to be able to use your time as judiciously as you possibly can. Now, what does that mean? Well, now we got to come back to this whole lead thing, that not all leads are created equal. They aren't created equal. You see, here's the whole thing. I've got to be able to have a series of questions that allow me to qualify you fast. Because remember I said, I want you to earn the right. Because here's the problem. What happens is we wind up keeping prospects in our pipeline that are really nothing more than suspects. Now, how do I determine it? Well, I'm going to reveal that to you in just a bit. But where am I going with this? You can tell if you've got bad prospects in your pipeline by asking yourself this question. Have you ever had to discount a price to close a deal? If you have had to discount your price to close a deal, then guess what? You've got the wrong prospects. The analogy I love to use is I can't take a Walmart shopper and turn them into a Nordstrom customer. Now, for those of you outside the US, I know we got Australian people and UK people on the phone. If we look, everybody knows what Walmart is. That's discount store, great discount store. Nordstrom is very high-end department store, very high-end. You see, if I'm Nordstrom and I've got the wrong prospect, guess what? I'm not going to be able to close them at full price. It's going to take a discount. Now, both those companies have got great business models, you see. But I've got to find out who the right people are very, very quickly. So how do I do that? Well, it really comes down to having questions that are going to accelerate your prospecting. Now, what do I mean by questions to accelerate? Here's what I want to do. My whole objective is to be able to have questions that are going to engage you rapidly in a conversation. The example I like to use is picture a bobblehead doll. If you're into baseball at all, you'll know that it's a very common thing. Baseball players have these bobblehead dolls, and they're little heads that are on a spring. And when you touch that head, it bobs up and down. Well, that's really the way you want to look at every one of your prospects. They're a bobblehead doll. And I want to get questions that engage them. Just this morning, I had a cold call to me. And this person gets on the phone, called me, and I admit, I don't normally answer the telephone. But I wasn't sure who this person was. Okay, I'll do it. And he goes, hi, how's your day going? And then he said, and then I said, fine. And I knew right away because he said, how's your day going? This guy's a salesperson. You see, what he was doing, then he said, may I ask who in your company is in charge of refilling ink cartridges? Oh, you talk about lame. That's pathetic. That's bad. You see, that was a question that's going to stop the prospecting process because it didn't engage me. What you want to do is you want to ask immediately, come right out of the chute, ask that person a question that is going to engage them in a conversation. Now, what's the easiest way? Well, the easiest way is to say, what's a question that I could put on a billboard that's going to get you to stop and think? Now, here's the whole thing. The era of true cold calling is really not really around too much anymore because this internet, I think this internet's going to stick around for a while, really provides us with a litany of information. You look at Nimble alone and all the resources and all the tools that we have and so forth. There's a tremendous amount of information out there. So what I want to do is I want to be able to ask you a question that's going to get you engaged. It's going to be a question. Typically what I like to do is a question about your industry. Now here's why. If I ask you a question about your industry, it's just going to get you kind of conversing because you're not quite sure who is this person. And you're probably going to sit there and say, hey, who are you? Well, then you can sit there and say who you are and who you work for. I don't care about titles. But then I'm going to come back and ask that question again. See, the objective is I've got to get you engaged quickly. You see, what I really want to have is I want to have what I call power questions. Now, let's spend a couple minutes here and let's talk about how do we create power questions. Power questions are ones that are designed to get you, the prospect, to give me a micro commitment. What's a micro commitment? Micro commitment is the agreement to do something for me. The agreement to look at a document, the agreement to agree to a follow-up meeting, the agree to something. You see, anytime I prospect, and let's just use this spirit of not necessarily cold call, but we'll call it a informed call. Okay, I've got a little piece of information about you, and I'm reaching out to you. My objective on that call is to get a micro commitment, and that micro commitment might simply be, hey, I know I'm catching you at a bad time. This is after I've talked to you, okay? I've got a little piece of information. Oh, you see, that's what it is. See, I've gotten that piece of proprietary information out of you. My objective is to be able to ask you questions that are going to help you share with me proprietary information. What's your value of money? What's your value of time? And something about your customer's customer. Or I ask you questions that will get you sharing with me. I see, that's the true power questions. So what I might ask you is, we'll say I call you up and we'll say that you sell software to HR firm. Okay, you sell an HR software. And your typical prospect that you're reaching out to is a CFO, an IT person, or an HR person. And you might call them up and you might say, hey, how is your company planning to deal with the changes in regulations come January 1 or something like that? You see, again, because there's always change, but I'm keying in on a question that is tied to time. This is the magic thing. If I can ask you a question that's linked to time, that's going to have you sharing with me some information. And then what I'm going to sit there and say is, I'm going to say, well, so how is that going to affect your customers? How's that going to affect the people that you serve, that you support? Now, I can ask that of an HR person who serves other departments within that company, or I might be able to sell. It's irregardless. But what I'm doing is I'm getting you thinking. Now, here's the whole thing. People sit there and say, Mark, how do you sit there and ask those types of questions that quickly? Well, here's the whole thing. Remember, I want to qualify fast. You see, I want to find out if you want to work with me. If you don't want to work with me, I'm cool. I'm okay. I'm going to move on. You see, because my ultimate goal here is that I want to be able to get out of you that micro commitment, the micro commitment to the next step. Now, here's something I want to share with you. Think about this. Every call you make to a person, I want you to be thinking about, what is my call to action? What is the next step? The next step might be to agree to the next meeting. The next step might be, and we'll say that I've had a conversation with you. You've agreed to the next call. I have the next call. Then the next micro commitment is, I'm going to email you a document with 3 things in it. Would you mind letting me know your comments and thoughts on it? Now, see, I love doing this. This is a great way to judge the quality of a potential prospect. Because if I ask you to do something after the call is over and you do it for me, what's that say? That says that, you're really engaged. You're interested. You are a good potential buyer. Now, if you don't respond, I'm not going to sit there and rule it out and say, no, this isn't a prospect. It may be just absolutely slammed for time. I get that. But I can use it as one of those little indicators. You see, what it comes down to is this whole piece of repeat. This is the bottle of shampoo, repeat. But I've got to rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Now, let's kind of put this in the context. Let's put this in the context of what is the frequency of contacts? How should I do this? How do I make this work? And here's something I want you to keep in mind. A, your schedule is not your prospect schedule. And what I find happening is I find people many times, well, they're going to make their prospecting calls at the same time every day. Don't do that. You always want to be challenging. You always want to be changing it up. What I like to do is I like to do the 4-day rotation or the 6-day rotation. Now, what is the 4-day, 6-day rotation? 4-day rotation is 4 working days later, I make the next call, or 6 working days later, I make the next call. Now, the reason I like 4 or 6 is because it always moves it to a different day of the week. And then maybe one day I'm calling you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 4 days later, I'm calling you at 9 o'clock in the morning. 4 days later, I'm calling you at noon. 4 days later, I'm calling you at 5 o'clock. I'm always changing the time of day. Now, here's the whole thing though. Go back to this whole rinse and repeat and the messaging. Should they always be phone calls? No. Should they always be emails? No. I love going back and forth, back and forth. Now, here's something to keep in mind. If you think, I'm just going to go ahead and send out emails because I can send more emails out faster to more people. Well, let me tell you something. A bad email sent to one person is a bad email. That bad email sent to 1,000 people is really stupid. I'm not a fan of that. I want to go back and forth, back and forth. Now, let's just kind of break this down here for a bit, because what I have to do is I have to have kind of a plan of action in place before I get into this. So what we do is I got to know the purpose before you call. See, now here's the whole thing. Know the purpose of your call. Now this fits for whether it be a telephone call, an email, a text message. It doesn't matter what it is. Know the purpose. Now, what do I mean by this? It's not what you think. See, so many times what happens is we think, well, I just got to let them know that I have this. They could care less. Nobody woke up this morning. I don't even think John woke up this morning and said, man, this is going to be a great day because I get to talk to Mark Hunter. I'm sorry. It just, if John woke up thinking that, oh, John's got a boring life. I don't think he has a boring life. You see, what this is all about is no. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what is the piece of information I want to get from you. What is the piece of information I want to share with you? But see, here's the whole thing. It's not just sharing. Then what do you want them to do with it? I may call you up, or I may send you an email, and it might be, hey, changes in the regulatory environment, or new competitor coming into the marketplace, or new this, or how are you going to respond to this? So I'm going to share with you something, but I'm looking for your response. Now, I know chances are you're not going to respond to me. I totally get that. You know, if I call you, because chances are you're probably not going to answer the phone. Now, let's take this a little step further. See, a phone call can really go one of 4 ways. There's really only 4 ways a phone call can go. And each one is actually a different approach. Now, think about this for a moment. Call way, the first way is that you actually reach the person you want to talk to. Great. Congratulations. Second one is it goes to voicemail. That's probably the most typical one. Third one is it gets answered by a gatekeeper. And really the gatekeeper, there's gatekeeper A and gatekeeper B. Gatekeeper A is maybe it's that senior administrative person who really does make the decisions. Or maybe it's just simply the operator or the person who's answering the phone that day. See, so there's within that gatekeeper, in fact, here's the whole thing. Don't call it gatekeeper anymore. I want you to call it door opener. And the fourth way is it goes to an automated system. Now, hey, don't blow off automated systems. Here's what I love to do. I don't hesitate if I get an automated system to listen to the prompts and think about this for a moment. There's really only 2 departments that answer the phone, really only 2 departments that routinely answer the phone. That is accounts receivable, because hey, they want money, and B, sales. That's it. I don't hesitate to call sales. I don't hesitate to push that number, call sales, and oh, by the way, you know who's going to answer that phone? It's probably going to be a mid-level salesperson. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to ask them, hey, who I might speak to. But before I do that, I'm going to be upfront with them. Hey, I'm in sales. You're in sales. Totally understand that. And what I want to help you with is I want to help you get the customers you're looking for. So what does that mean? I'm going to volunteer to help them. And in turn, hopefully they will help me. Now, I don't have time to really run down that, but because I want to spend a minute here with prospecting. Hey, prospecting voicemails. Leave a voicemail. I can't. Look, you took the time to call them. Don't sit there and say, well, nobody listens to voicemail. No, maybe that's what you think, but people do listen to voicemails. Listen to voicemails. I look at voicemails as being a billboard along the side of the road. I look at it as being a sign. I look at it as being a key indicator. And that's all it's going to be. I know they're not going to respond back to me, but I'm putting a message out. Think about it. How many times do you see an advertisement for Coca-Cola? I think we all know what Coke is, but they still continue to advertise. Look at the number of advertisements we see for Starbucks coffee. I think we still know what a Starbucks coffee is. Here's the whole key thing. Perfect voicemail, 12 to 14 seconds. Now, why 12 to 14 seconds? It's simply this, because I want you to know, them to know, that you value their time and they know that their time is valuable. Now, whoa, what do I mean by that? Simple. If I leave you a long, rambling voicemail, what's that going to tell you about me? This guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing. If, on the other hand, you leave a very high energy, short 12 to 14 second voicemail, and all it is, hey, John, Mark Hunter, the Sales Center, got some information regarding new business opportunities in 2019. Give me a buzz, John, 402-445-2110. 402-445-2110. Now, that was kind of an off-the-cuff voicemail, but think about that. That was really only about 14, 15 seconds long. What did I do? I used John's name. All I said was one quick thing. I just said, hey, got some information regarding X. And I repeated my phone number twice. That's it. Now, another reason why I like short voicemails is very simply this, because there's a lot of systems that are now converting voicemail into text messages. So think about this. If you leave that long, rambling 30, 40-second voicemail, guess what? You have now absolutely created the world's lousiest text message. You see what it comes down to? It's a three-step process. It's intro. Hi, John, Mark Hunter. CTA, the call to action, and reinforce. Reinforce is giving your phone number and leaving it twice. That's all it is. It's very, very simple. Now, let's look real quick, just for the sake of time here. Let's look at how do we convert something like that into an email? How do we prospect with email? Okay, first of all, you got to remember this. We write prospecting emails sitting at our laptop or our desktop, and boy, they look good. They look good. You've just written War and Peace, and you're about ready to send that out. Well, let me tell you something. War and Peace is not a prospecting email. It's a book. It's a book. You got to write short emails. Now, here's why. Because the majority of emails are really viewed today on a smartphone. And you know what's interesting? We delete much faster on a smartphone. And even if we do read it, even if we do open it, I better be following the one swipe rule. What is one swipe? That means if you can't read that email within one swipe, guess what? It's over. It's over. Because think about this. You get an email on your phone and you open it up and it's a big long thing, goes on forever. What do? You delete it. So here's the whole key thing. I got to have a very tight email. And that tight email is going to consist of really three critical things that are absolutely important. One, first of all, I've already said it, one swipe. But two, it's a subject line and the first, 6 or 8 words that grab the customer. Don't think high school English or college journalism. Hi, my name is, I'd like to introduce myself. Wrong. Think Twitter when it comes to emails. Twitter. You've got to be able to have a subject line that grabs that person. industry changes, regulatory updates, something that's going to grab them. Could be a person's name of somebody they know. And those first 6 or 8 words cannot be sitting there. Hi, my name is, I'd like to introduce myself. Don't, because what does that do? That looks like a saying. No. What I do is I come right out of the chute in that first sentence, in those first 8 words, and I ask you that question. I'm going to ask you that question, and then I'm going to double space. Then I'm going to put, my name is Mark Hunter, the sales hunter. That's where I introduce myself. Another sentence. I double space and I put, call me at 402-445-2110. Happy to share with you. Now you notice something there? I didn't say email me. I said call me. It's already logical that they can email you. All they do is hit reply. I want to try to have them call me. But this is so easy to do. Now, let me share with you a couple really cool things that really allow you to, how do I convert a voicemail into an email? You see, think about this for a moment. If I'm writing a very short voicemail, I mean, if I'm writing a very short email, that's basically a viable voicemail. You see, so what's good is when I get into a cadence, I can keep rolling myself through. And this is so key. Because remember, time is your most valuable asset. So you got to be moving fairly quickly. Now, here's something that's absolutely gold. This is worth the price of admission. This is worth everything to you. But it's how we link voicemail to email. Okay. We'll say that you've had one conversation with somebody, and they shared with you one piece of information. Doesn't matter what it is, but they share with you one piece of information. For your next call, what you're going to do is you're going to call them up and say, John, you mentioned X, and you repeat back to them exactly what they shared with you. Exactly what they shared with you. Like to get some more input on it. Call me at 402-445-2110. Wow, what did I just do? I played back in the voicemail exactly what you shared with me. Wow, you're gonna be blown away. You're actually going to say, he listened. He actually listened and he cared. You see, what I can do is I can leave that in a voicemail, or I can leave that in an email. But it's one of the best ways that I can use to follow up with him. One of the things that people say, and I hear this a lot, Mark, I had this initial contact with somebody, and then they went dark on me. Well, they went dark on you because unfortunately you weren't sharing with them really enough critical information to kind of grab their attention. Yeah. So what I do is I'm leaving them enough critical information because I'm playing back to them exactly. So I can do that same thing in an email. Now you might be saying, Mark, can I do the same thing? Wait a minute, you said rinse and repeat, every message different. This is the one exception to the rule. Because what you say is absolutely important. So I want to make sure. So whatever it is that you say, I'm going to sit there and say, I'd love to get some more input on it. Love to get some more comments on that. Now, let's kind of begin bundling all this together and begin kind of playing this together in terms of how do we make this all fit. It's what I call C plus C equals O equals P. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, what it means is continuity, competence, confidence, opportunity, profit. Okay, what is this all about? Remember the bottle of shampoo? I've been talking about it all along. You see, I create continuity by messaging you enough. This is where I argue with people. Well, I called them once, I called them twice. No, I've got to create continuity. So I might have to message you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. The second C is competence. You see, the competence is coming through because I'm changing my message each time. Now, people tell me, they say, Mark, how do I keep this all straight? Here's what I like to do. I like to create a cadence by industry or by type of customer I'm prospecting. So I've got kind of some key piece of information that I share, key questions I ask. And I just kind of work them through my system. And you can put this right into Nimble. You can just record it right in there, and it's all right there for you. So you can exactly see how people are responding or not responding. But you know exactly what your next message is. It allows you to really deliver your messages faster. Now, here's the objective. What you're doing is you're creating confidence. Now, what's interesting here is that You may have messaged somebody 6, 7, 8 times. You may have only had 1 or 2 conversations with them. Totally get it. But you know what's interesting? They've been receiving them. They've probably been looking at half of them or hearing half of them. What is it doing? It's creating a level of confidence in them. It's creating, surprisingly, we are creating more confidence in our prospects than we have realized. Now, they're still a suspect because I really haven't had a good conversation with them. See, it's when I get to the O, the opportunity. That's when I now begin to determine whether or not you are a true prospect. Because at that opportunity level is where we're having a meaningful conversation. Here's something I found. I create more profit, yes, that's the P, from my prospects when I prospect better. Now, here's why. When I prospect better in terms of having deeper conversations, more personable conversations, I uncover truth. If I wait until the offer's on the table, you know what happens? It's a lot of bold-faced lies. See, what happens is that's when I get to the stink pile. See, if I try to race you through, now wait a minute, you're saying, hold on, Mark, you said qualify fast. I did say qualify fast. But if you qualify too fast and run all the stop signs and go way over the speed limit, see, you're going to wind up in the stink pile because of the fact that you were not able to pull people into the conversation to have them sharing with you. You see, I create a level of trust early in my prospect because trust is currency. Think about that for a moment. Trust is currency. That's what I want to do in the prospecting phase. So don't blow off your prospecting. Don't go blowing it off. If you blow it off and you think it's not meaningful, no, because that's where you're creating it. Now, I've got about 7 minutes, and I want to kind of race through a couple more things because we want to open this up for questions, okay? And I'm going to turn it back over to John for that. But I want to come back to this whole concept of gatekeeper or door opener, and I want to share with you a couple magical things about how we can access other departments, or shall we say, get to the right person by going through other departments. First of all, if I am reaching out to somebody and I'm continuously getting what I think is the gatekeeper. Now, first of all, I said, don't look at it as gatekeeper, they're a door opener. But what I want to do is I want to ask them the very same questions I would ask the decision maker if I had them on the phone. Ask them the very same question. Now, here's why. Here's why I like doing this. If this person is truly a door opener, I mean, really the person who manages that person's schedule, manages that person's calendar, they're going to be impressed with the questions that you ask. And they're also going to be impressed with the fact that you respect them. If, on the other hand, this person is just a person who just answers the phone, see, they're going to sit there and say, wow, I guess this must be important. So don't hesitate to sit there and ask them the very tough questions. Now, conversely, how do we gain access by using other departments or other gatekeepers, other types of things? Here's something to keep in mind. I can use other departments, but whatever information I learn from other departments, I got to make sure I verify the information twice. Because in any type of company, it's amazing how information can get misconstrued pretty quickly. Information can start running wonky. So what I'm going to do is I might reach out to other departments, other locations, other areas, and I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to engage them. I'm going to develop relationships. But whatever I hear, I can't take to the bank until I hear it twice. And I got to be very cautious in using any of that information with the absolute decision maker, because I don't know if that decision maker values that person. Now, here's a really cool technique, and I love using this approach. One, if you're trying to reach a senior level person, or any person who is very much engaged in their business. Don't hesitate to send them an email Saturday morning at 6:15 in the morning. Whoa, what did he just say? Yeah, Saturday morning at 6:15. Here's the magical thing. Senior level people never stop working. They never do. It's just a matter of whether or not they're working in the business or on the business. During the week, they're working in the business. They're frantically trying to race to keep up. And they've got a whole series of gatekeepers who are blocking everything from them. But see, on the weekend, those messages are coming right into their smartphone, right into their tablet. So I don't hesitate to send somebody an email at 6:15 on a Saturday morning. I was working with a healthcare company back here a couple of years ago. They sell software to healthcare people, and their target audience was hospital administrators. Major problem trying to reach them. And I said, okay, here's the technique. And I shared with them this 6:15 idea. And oh, there were people that were skeptical. About a month later, I was back in doing another round of training with them. And all of them who tried it said, wow, cannot believe the level of success they had. Because suddenly these people, they were getting emails into these people. Now here's the whole key thing though. You've got to make sure that if they do respond back to you, that you don't wait till Monday to follow up with them. In other words, if you send them an email at 6:15 on a Saturday morning, hey, a couple changes regarding regulations you might be looking at, or something of this, something of this, and don't include attachments. If you're sending it to senior level people, don't go including attachments. Do not include attachments. Don't. Here's why. Senior level people don't open attachments. Period. They just won't. They just won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you an email. It might have 2 or 3 bullet points of some key critical information, and just say, hey, would be interested in getting your thoughts on it. They respond back to you at say 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. You better make sure that you respond back to them at say 2, 3 in the afternoon. You better respond back to them that same afternoon, because if you wait till Monday, they're going to look at you like, oh, that was just a slimy salesperson trying to bug me with something. No, I want to hit them up right then and there. Now, I'm not going to call them, but my objective is to keep that discussion going. Hey, one other technique for reaching senior level people, what I call the 58-2 technique. 58-2. 58-2. 58 minutes after the hour, 2 minutes into the hour. Senior level people, busy people, it really doesn't have to be senior level people, it could be anybody. They're busy. They're in meetings all day long. So what I found is the most efficient time with which to reach somebody is to call them right at the top of the hour when they're right in between meetings. And it's amazing how you'll wind up getting conversations with people that you've never had before. Now, with each person I meet, I want to earn the right, the privilege, the honor, and the respect to be able to meet with that person again. It comes back to that whole first slide I talked about earlier in terms of prospect with integrity. When you prospect with integrity, you'll get customers. But see, through it all, there are going to be people that are going to say no. I don't care if they say no. I don't care. No is only a moment in time. And if they blow up at me on the phone, I don't care. I don't know what happened to them before they met me. I may have just been the wrong person at the wrong time. You see, prospecting is not an activity. It truly is a lifestyle. John and I were joking about that before we began, that really every moment is a great moment to prospect. You see, I love sales. Why do I love sales? Because it truly is an ability for people to help people. That's what sales is all about. Sales is helping others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. So here's the whole thing. Now what? What's your action plan? Well, we got some questions we're going to pop into, but while I turn this back over to them in just a second. Hey, I do have a free ebook, Top 10 Reasons Most Prospecting Plans Fail. If you text the word Hunter, all caps, to 442222, you'll get that ebook coming right back to you in an email. But love to give that to you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and try to pop this back open to John here. And let's see if I can here.
Let me know if you need assistance.
Do you have control there?
I don't yet.
Here you go, John. I think you have
There you go. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mark, I was so enthralled listening to you that I didn't want to interrupt a moment of your storytelling, but so many of the things that you mentioned in there resonate to me. There is a guy named Cecil, um, Jim Cecil, and they called him Dr. Nurture. And he taught me nurture marketing back in my goldmine days. In fact, I built automated processes into Goldmine, which automated the whole process of nurture marketing because of Jim. And you remind me so much of Jim and in how you teach motions to build intimacy and trust, to get people to open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional you want to solve. You're not bagging and tagging people, you're finding ways to help people grow. And I really loved it. So thank you so much. I wanted to get into a few of the questions here. And also I wanted to just briefly share, because some of the questions are, does Nimble prospecting come with Nimble? And so towards that, I just wanted to sort of talk about what is Nimble Prospector. So the whole idea is if I'm looking at a person, I want to be able to get their contact info, but that doesn't necessarily give me the right to reach out to them, because ideally you found ways to add value to that person. So they might even call you. And an example of that is uh, I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he was telling me about this application that listens to the reverse IP of people that visit your website and integrate with their CRM and give you signals on people that are coming back. So imagine if you email a prospect and they actually do some sort of CTA and they go back to your website. Wouldn't it be great to get those signals? And so I said to myself, well, I really would like to know more about this company and connect with them to potentially explore an integration. And so what I saw was Nimble actually gives me the company information. And then what I do is I take that person and I just say search Google, and I find that person's LinkedIn. And then from there, I could easily just go to their contact info like that, and then go and point to the URL of their LinkedIn, and Nimble will then automatically build this beautiful record for me. But not only that, but it'll give me their contact info. So basically, if you give Nimble the first name, last name, company, domain, it'll go ahead and build this beautiful record for you. This is what we call Nimble Prospector, and it's included in every Nimble account. And so you could easily build records on people and companies and use it wherever you're working. And I like to use it when I'm connecting to other people. So there's this guy, Jason Perlow, who wants to connect with me. And I actually recognize Jason's name, but I like to Nimble people before I connect with them. And Nimble essentially tells me a little bit about him, and then I can go ahead and connect. And I love the fact that he's senior editor at ZDNet and Technology, and also a Microsoft Office 365 thought leader. So boom, I'm going to connect with them, but more importantly, I'm going to create a follow-up and follow-through, because you need to be able to follow up and follow through. And I'm going to go ahead and reconnect with him and remind myself to do so. So this is just some simple examples of using Nimble to prospect smarter. And one last tip, I love to prospect off of my friends' networks, because people talk to people like themselves. And so if I wanted to find more people like Mark, I could easily go to your Twitter list and look at the people that you personally curated. And if I wanted to find more sales experts like you, because let's face it, you influence a lot of people, I could easily import that Twitter list into Nimble. And then basically when you put names into Nimble, Nimble will automatically build records for them and help you to go ahead and reach out and connect. And this is one of the ways that I actually reached out and connected to thought leaders at the recent Microsoft conference I spoke at, by importing this Twitter list of 3,500 people, segmenting it into 200, because you need to segment in order to send one-to-one messages. And I got a 50% open rate on that. And I scheduled 25 meetings and signed a deal with Microsoft, started to resell Nimble with Office worldwide. And these are just some examples of prospecting smarter everywhere you work. And there's opportunities to prospect all the time. And so with that, let's get in and answer a few of these questions. I've got a question from Matthew Radine, and he said, I recently started using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Duck Soup, and several other tools to identify prospects through Nimble. Do you have any suggestions how to maximize the use of these tools in order to get the most relevant as possible into a person's Nimble contact? Well, Matthew, I think I just showed you one way to convert a name into a record. And Nimble does that really literally anywhere as you work. So if I'm reading an article that's written by this author and I want to get a hold of them to see if I can get them to write about me, Nimble will go ahead and do that. And again, if you give somebody's first name, last name, company, domain name, Nimble gives you all that beautiful information that you can go ahead and prospect smarter. And I'm not as familiar with the tool Duck Soup, but I just assume it's some sort of automation tool that allows you to do things on LinkedIn. Ultimately, any name that you get, whether you're getting it from a Twitter list, you're getting it from a singular record, wherever you get them, Nimble helps you to then enrich them and then do the outreach. So I hope that helps. Mark, do you have any tips on what he just asked about?
Well, I think, it's so easy to get caught up in getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads. And I'm all about the school, just like you said, you used it to cull it down. That's what you want to do. Get it down to
Yeah.
just a few.
Yeah, and that's the problem with most CRMs and marketing systems and databases is that when you put somebody's name into the systems, you have to do all the work to figure out who they are, and that's what Nimble does. It gives you their areas of influence and interests and company information and all that segmentatable. And you want to use segments in order to do one-to-one communications because people feel it when you're doing one-to-many and they ignore it. Chuck Royer asks, how do you determine that you have enough information, whatever that might be, to start the first prospecting conversation? Or is that needed? You just go in with some questions already designed for that typical prospect? Mark?
That's exactly. Just make the call. People sit here. In fact, I just did a video on it this morning on LinkedIn, where I talk about just make the call. You can research yourself to death. All I want to do is just, if I just know one piece of information about the industry that person's in, I can come up with a question. Boom, make the call. Go.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm in agreement with you, but I'm going to tell you this. There's a guy named Ken Krogh who's a CEO of a SaaS company called Inside Sales. They're responsible for all those robo dials that you get at your home. So you can go ahead and send him some hate mail. But the reality is that he is a great guy in our industry. And I was going to meet with him at a sales conference. And before I did that, I Nimbled him. And Nimble told me all the basic business information, but it also told me that he was an ASM, Assistant Scoutmaster, and he had two sons who are Eagle Scouts. Well, I was an ASM for 8 years, and I have two sons who are Eagle Scouts. And I'll tell you what, when you meet another ASM or a dad that has one or two Eagle Scouts, there's immediate trust and intimacy that's created. And when I shared that with him, we got into this deep conversation that ended up him inviting me to go to Salt Lake and meet his CEO and talk about some biz dev opportunities. So it does help to share what I call as the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship, in order to build intimacy and trust to then get them to open up and make things happen. I got another one from Sherry Warwick. How do you create a follow-up calendar? Do you have a resource we should review?
I don't have a resource. It really is. You just got to create your own. And that's why I go by the 4-day cadence or the 6-day cadence. And you simply just keep rolling rolling them over. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Don't create systems. Too many people create these big complex systems. Let me tell you something. We can screw up a 2-car funeral. Keep it simple. Just
Yeah.
make it happen.
Yeah, in the old days, they had the 6x9 index card where you essentially put the recall date and you filed it based off that, and you knew who you were calling that day. And you put notes on the card of what you talked about and what the next step was. And that's what actually prompted me to basically invent contact management and CRM before Outlook or Salesforce existed, because I wanted a tool that did just that. Built Goldmine, and now we built Nimble, which is a cloud-based version of Goldmine with social, and I encourage you to check that out. Another question from Jay Miller. Mark, do you have any tips for tracking down prospects' mobile phone numbers?
No, that's a great one. Just really Intel. Intel. I'm sorry. It's amazing what you can go in and Google and just
Yeah.
start doing a deeper and deeper dive. But again, don't let lack of a phone number, lack of a cell phone number stop you. Call the general number. Start from there.
So Jay, if you use Nimble, Nimble actually will give you, in many cases, their email and their phone number and their address, and it's included with every Nimble system. It's called Nimble Prospector, and so go sign up and start prospecting customers. It's really, really easy. All you do is you essentially say search for contact info. You give it the first name, last name, company, domain name, and Nimble will essentially enrich it with all that information. We give you, I think, 25 enrichments for free per account, or maybe it's 50. We'll have to look that up. And then the additional calls are as little as 5 cents a call, uh, which is pretty affordable. Uh,
Which is nothing for developing the right lead. Yeah, boom.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing.
Stephanie McDonald said, if I have Nimble, do I have access to Prospector automatically? Yes, Stephanie. You get Nimble Prospector is included with every Nimble system, and yep, it looks like you get number of credits per account is it looks like they're included for free. Your base enrichments. And then Alan Lee says, is Nimble Prospect available with a Nimble account subscription? Yes, it is. It's actually available with the trial. So you can go try it out today for free and you can get it. Mark Eldred says, please repeat the 5 F's of life. So if you go to my LinkedIn resume, and I say my resume because LinkedIn is my business persona. And by the way, you should do this for yourself. You should Google yourself. And if you don't show up on the first page, you're not doing something right. So you need to work on that. You need to do some personal SEO. But if you go to my LinkedIn resume, you'll see my business background, my business persona. It's like walking into my business lobby. You're not really going to know the real me. You want to find out the real me, go to my Instagram. You're going to find out more about me in 5 seconds than you will in 5 minutes along the areas of commonality of life, which is where relationships have to go to sustain them. So if you connect with me on my LinkedIn or business persona, we're going to relate about our business stuff. But if you connect with me on my other places like Facebook and Instagram, we'll start learning about each other's family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship, which are the places we learn about each other's passions. And if you look at my background, you'll see I'm passionate about family and food and barbecue and backpacking and the Dodgers and wine and more food and getting out there in the outdoors. And so these are the places where you connect with people. And that's really one of the beauties of Nimble, is that it essentially gives you all that information right out the gate. So with that, we've covered all of the questions that I saw before, and I think it's about time to bid everybody adieu. I'd like to share with you again Mark's call to action. He's got this great ebook. Text Hunter to 44222, and you'll get his free ebook. And I recommend you check out his book. It's available on Amazon and other places. And then as far as Nimble, you can save 40% off your first 3 months if you haven't subscribed yet. Use the code JON40. And if you attended this and you have a Nimble plan and want to get free 100 prospector credits, just email care@nimble.com. Please connect with Mark on whatever channel is most comfortable for you and myself. Let us know how we might help you grow. And with that, Mark, I want to thank you for you spending your precious time with us today to inspire and educate us of how to prospect better, smarter, faster.
Thank you. And it's Friday afternoon, which is a great time to be making some prospecting calls. Prospecting's
Amen.
fun. Helping
Amen.
people.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.